Well, not necessarily. Look, I think that if you look at the U.S. backdrop of the big tech names, certainly they're extended by all metrics, and anybody that looks at them, I think, would find a hard valuation, kind of perspective as to why you want to move forward in those names. That said, I think there is a massive difference right now, which is probably not company specific nor industry specific. It's a sentiment thing. The pressure in Tencent and Alibaba and some of the bigger names right now is really born out of the uncertainty that people have over what is the shadow that Trump is putting over the market. I think that what you have seen in the U.S. is kind of a flight to safety, and you've been, the big tech names and the mega caps have benefited from money seeking kind of safer or perceived safer havens. And if you look at the disparity between the performance of the U.S. market and Shanghai comp, it probably tells the whole story right there.
Yeah, and speaking of sentiment driven from trade fears, I mean, take a look at what's happened to Apple. Obviously, investors, they're nervous about some comments coming from President Trump, but really this is about the next round of tariffs if we get that big $200 billion amount of additional Chinese goods, and then additional amounts that President Trump has warned to the tune of $267 billion as well. I mean, in the past, you've told us you're not so concerned. You think this is just rhetoric, that it could all blow over. Are you still that optimistic in light of the new threats we've heard?
I am, and clearly I'm probably in the smaller camp of thinking that this is still at a point where it can be turned around and we could rectify what could be a very damaging situation. I've often said that I think that this is rhetoric, as you said. I think it's kind of bluster and talk, but I do think at this point there is a line at which maybe Trump crosses that and we can't turn back, and that's the thing that I fear. However, what I do think is really important is that there is not, if anyone looks at this rationally, I don't think there's anyone that can argue that there's a victor in this, that there's no one that can say, hey, if the trade war plays out in this way or if it goes this far, that the U.S. wins or China wins. I think that that's probably what drives rational behavior for people to come to the table and to negotiate. And as we know, a negotiating skill for most people is right when you're at that point where that inflection point, you often play your hand bigger than it should be to get that last bit of leverage to go to the table. I think that's what the recent kind of last 2 weeks of threatening more tariffs and larger tariffs, I think that's kind of the strategy behind that. I can't say I agree with it. I don't necessarily think that it's helping the sentiment side of it, but I do think that this is kind of the last play to get to the table and get something that's desired out of the Trump camp.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.